So you think history is a big essential theme, the repeating of history, or the highlights of history?
Yeah, the circle of history. We sadly come back to difficult times between us and people we consider our enemy. And in fact, where Tina and Alan met was on a peace walk that involved about 200 Americans and 200 Soviet people. So there's this connection that has to do with how do we find peace between two completely different sets of people. And so that comes up in this play. And there's a connection with what Alan and Tina do as well, because a lot of Tina's paintings reflect history. Meanwhile, Alan is sort of creating history and also hearkening back. The play harkens back to the peace marches of the 1980s. So he's sort of actively reflecting on history and creating what is going to be history in the future. And Tina is painting images of presidents, presidents' wives, and in fact, in spoiler alert, there is a scene in La Posada where some of these historical people actually come on stage.
In the play La Posada, there are quite a number of touchstones, dates, histories, recounting of past events.
Right.
And as a playwright, obviously, you have discretion to honor them, with strictness or not. How would you say La Posada meets a standard of verisimilitude? How historically accurate is or isn't it?
Right. Well, one of the things that people ought to know is that, I was a textbook writer, and often we would do a historical piece or a scientific piece. So I love doing research. And so for all of my plays, I do a lot of research as I'm writing. I'll write a scene, then I'll say, wait a minute, is that accurate? Or wait, I need certain fact here to support what I'm trying to say. So it's important for me to do research. But after I've done that research, I choose what to make exactly accurate and what to play with, either in time or the number of people involved or something like that. So history is very important to me, and representing history is very important to me. But a couple of case in points. I have a scene where young Tina, as a 4-year-old child, is watching television, and that is interrupted by JFK signing the Limited Test Ban Treaty. So, of course, I wanted to see, well, what were they watching? She's 4 years old. What kind of a program would they be watching? So I have her watching Lost in Space. Well, the scene is set in 1963. However, Lost in Space didn't come on until 1965. Something like that doesn't bother me because, first off, Tina's particular character and the idea of Lost in Space, not only is it a good metaphor for her, but it's a kind of thing that I can imagine her watching. And so I decided, no, I'm going to keep that. It really doesn't matter whether they, and it was so much more appropriate to me that they were watching Lost in Space than something that was actually on in 1963. So I play with things like that, and I make a conscious decision about what to have exactly accurate and what to play with. And the other thing I should say is that every single scene in the play is made up. However, it's based on the kind of things that happened. I guess the most accurate is, even though I recreate it, is a scene in an office where Alan and others are creating the American-Soviet walk. And that's pretty accurate, although I wasn't there. So I had to, based on my own experience, decide what they would be doing and when.
And as you think through the play, and you've undergone your rewrites, and we have our script, and we're developing the rehearsal process. Right. What is it that you hope people will take the most delight in the course of the play?
Good question. Well, I think there are a lot of fun scenes. I think they'll have a lot of delight getting to know the characters that they may have seen at La Posada, and they have no idea of their history. So I think they'll have a lot of delight in that. Some of the banter between Dan Lutzig and Tina Mion is very much like a family, and so that may resonate with them. There is a dog in the play that may appear on stage, and we may just hear. We really haven't decided yet. And there are some very funny scenes. So it's funny. It's a funny play, and it's a semi-historical play, and it will make people think. And I think for me, at my age, and having been through the peace movement of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, I think we will look back on those times as fairly innocent, and perhaps look at the world today and say, sure would be nice if we gained a little bit more innocence, a little more truth, a little more desire to use whatever our skills are, whether it's gardening or renovating a building or writing or singing, to share those gifts with the world in whatever way we think will help the world progress in a positive direction. Hi, I'm Micki Shelton. I've written a new play called La Posada. It premieres October 6th at the Prescott Elks Theatre, Prescott, Arizona. It runs the 6th, 7th, and 14th of October. You can get your tickets online at prescottelkstheatre.org.